Bobby Fi with my man Rody, with my man Sheets. We got a 3-man booth. We've got an interesting NFL slate. It's always fun and stressful on these days. Still got a bunch of lineups I got to edit. Let's start with you, Sheets, and then we'll go over to Rody. What is sort of your overall take on how you're going to approach this slate?
So first of all, I'd like to say that I'm going to tell you what's a little frustrating for me. I guess I won't say frustrating. It's a little humbling, actually, when you think about it, because the NFL is just so analyzed throughout the course of the week. You know, with a lot. I mean, let's face it, a lot of experts out there and a lot of really, really sharp people analyzing, and then I get to my hand-built lineups and the stuff that I really like, and then as you get down to today, I go through all these content providers and they say, well, obviously what the chalk is this, the chalk is this, the chalk is that. And it seems like everybody is on all my plays. You know what I mean? So and it's like, I'm like, boy, what do I have to do if I'm going to play GPPs? Is it that difficult to get different? And it is kind of humbling, because I'll tell you, like, I've been playing around with these other sports, and I'm able to get like just such incredible plays that either no one's on or they're not 100% owned or whatever it is. But the NFL is just like, it's because there's so much money on the line and it's the most popular sport. It just feels as though that it feels difficult to get an edge. You know what I mean? So what I feel as though I should be doing or I have to do is just like you said, make concessions. Say, hey, don't take necessarily the best play. If something's close, if you're going to get like half the ownership, just go with something like that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Rody, how are you approaching this slate? Because it does feel like, unlike week one, we have a little bit more concentrated chalk this week. So what are you doing? What are your sort of ideas?
Yeah, this is a tough slate. I really think a lot of people are trying to wait for the late games, and I think people shouldn't forget about the early games. I really do. I think people are going to get confused because there's so many good late games today. I know everyone wants to go there, but you're still going to have to make decisions in the late games. You're still going to have to figure out whether you want to switch to Seattle, whether you want to go to Hopkins because he's lower owned in that late game, and your contrarian plays did better in the early games. So you're still a lot of decisions to make. And then if you're going towards the Dallas or Chargers game as well, so you just got to really figure it out today. And there's a lot of spots I really like that are in the earlier games that I think I might tend to attack a little bit more than I think others will.
I'll tell you what I like in the early game. I hope this is early game. I'm still on the Buffalo Miami. That's my favorite. Is the Tampa game early or no? Yeah. So those are the two that I'm on early. The Dallas game. The Buffalo game and the Tampa game. When I say I'm on,
Tampa's at 4.
Oh, it is at 4?
Yeah. The afternoon. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
So it really is for me just the Buffalo, and that's just what I'm like the hand built. So in other words, stuff that I'm making my actual decisions. Some of them are just kind of pumping through my optimizer to see what I come up with, and I'm not getting a whole lot of other stuff anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the concentration can be in the 4:00 game, but it's probably for a decent reason. Aside from the Miami game, what else do you kind of like in the early stuff, Rody?
My take is I do like that Buffalo game. I'm getting a lot of Josh Allen. I think he's just good, and they pass a lot. So Diggs, it's a great play. I think. Don't sleep on the Cleveland Browns. I think they're going to score some points, and I think people are not wanting to play that. Jarvis Landry is kind of their go-to guy. I think you can mix him in there, a lot. Get him in your lineups. The big one I like is, where is it? Stafford and the Rams.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
I'm very, very into that idea. Go ahead, Jordan.
I'm heavy in the Rams today. I think a lot of sharps and a lot of people are talking not to be. And I've finally started seeing a few people this morning talking about it. And I'm like, okay, thank God I'm not the only idiot that's doing this.
Yeah, I got Cup being really high owned. And I'm getting to Cup and Woods as kind of one-offs. I didn't quite get to them in a stack, and Henderson, I'm getting some of him too. But so I guess you like pairing them all together. You like that game in general.
Yeah, I got Woods and Cup. I think pairing them together with Stafford, I think that's kind of my go-to
Okay.
I think Stafford's cheap. He's 6.4. He has good upside. They're going to be throwing the ball. I know Henderson's in the mix there too, but I just like him in the dome. He's played in a dome forever. So, I mean, I think it's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I agree with all that. The worry for that game for me is that Indy, and we saw it a little bit even against Seattle, even in a game that they, that you wanted to get pieces of Seattle, obviously. But like the problem with Indy is like I don't buy their cornerbacks. I like the idea of trying to attack them. I love Stafford. I love the play calling. I think it's going to be a good spot for my Rams, but I'm a little worried about the pace of play. And I will say that one thing I am doing quite a bit more of than I thought. I'm literally like I'm trying to manually get Denver receivers into as many lineups as possible. I think those are the cheap receivers that I'm sort of going for as far as earlier games go. But I do like the Rams. I'm sort of having a trouble getting it as a stack, and I'm using it more as one-offs like Sheets is, even though I wouldn't surprise me at all if Stafford has this monster day here. The only problem is I just feel like a little bit weird about attacking a team that plays so slow. Why I like Denver against Jacksonville here is that you have Jacksonville played faster than like anybody's played in forever last week. I don't think it's going to be all that different today. And I think that you're going to see these Denver receivers without Judy have a chance to really, really have a big game. So those are the guys who I'm using a lot of. And I need to make sure to get more of Kupp and Woods. I especially like Woods on FanDuel better than Kupp. And I like Woods actually on DraftKings a little bit better considering he's lower owned. I think they're very, very similar spots. And I love Kupp, don't get me wrong. I just think that they're both really, really good. And obviously, Darrell Henderson is going to be the chalky guy to play in that game. But all those spots along with Higbee feel like guys who I'm just going to be playing throughout my lineups just like I am with the Denver receivers. And they're sort of pairing those guys with a lot of my afternoon slate love.
Well,
you can do a lot of late swapping on this slate, right? Like if things don't go well for any of your early guys, you can always pivot over to there's a bunch of great opportunities in every afternoon game. So
I currently have 40% Noah Fant, by the way, since you mentioned the Denver receivers, and that's not going to be particularly earth shattering, I don't think.
No.
I think people are going to be playing him a decent amount. But I mean, as long as we talk about the early games, I guess we should talk about the elephant in the room, and that would be Harris, right? For Pittsburgh.
Yep.
How much do you recommend getting to him in various types of contests? You know what I mean? Because I know Rody, well, both of you both play some of the bigger buy-ins in addition to the Millie. I presume you play the Millie Maker, Rody, also, but I know you guys also play both the big buy-ins. How are you characterizing Harris in your exposures today? And is there a difference between how you're doing them in big buy-ins versus how you're doing them in the Millie Maker?
Go ahead, Rody.
Yeah, some of the bigger buy-ins I've actually kind of went lighter on them, actually, surprisingly. And I went only about 40% MME. I mean, I got him in like the monster, a little bit on FanDuel, but I'm not getting to him as much on DK in the big buy-in. I actually did a Rams stack with McCaffrey and Kamara. I can get both Kupp and Woods in that to get different in my high buy-in on DK.
Right.
What about you, Bobby?
So repeat the question, man. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get some.
The question is Najee Harris. What are you doing with him?
I'm way over the field on it. It's bizarre. I don't like doing this, but I have a strong take of him to be one of the best, productive running backs all year long. This is a good spot. He plays every down, all the stuff. I am trying to, phase him out of a few, but it's really hard. I've got like 50% of them right now. And I would like to, maybe sprinkle that around a little bit more, but I don't necessarily know that there's a huge bust path for him here, like last week, but I do think that there is other guys in the same price. You've got Carson there. I like Zeke a lot this week. This is a totally different situation than playing against Tampa Bay. Although actually the Chargers probably defense is maybe getting a little underrated based on who they actually have back there. They're solid, but I think that game does shoot out, and I like Zeke as another pivot off of him. So I am overweight on him. Where do you stand right now, Sheets?
I have 90% of him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a lot. We're on similar pages, unfortunately, and I'm just ready for somebody to come in.
It's what I said in my lead-in. I feel I don't want to say like a sucker because that's not the right way to put it. I just feel as though I'm just being too chalky, but I don't. You know what I mean? I'm in. It's weird. Because again, I'm still not into the football swing. You know what I mean? Like look, I actually won a little bit last week because I was fortunate enough to have not noticed the Mostert thing. Right. Right. And I was away, so I just put my lineups in Thursday and forgot about it, and I ended up winning. And because of that Tyreek Hill blow up in the second half, whatever. But this week, I mean, I'm sitting here with like all these freaking chalky plays, and that's why I'm a little, it just feels as though all these lineups are going to cash and not win anything. You know what I mean? That's just kind of the way it feels for me. And let me ask you about a running back. I want to ask you about two running backs. If you're using him as either of them as a pivot or whatever it is, because one of them makes just so much. Two of them really make just a lot of sense. And I don't look. The running backs you're supposed to play. Okay, yeah, you're supposed to play the guys that get a lot of targets out of the backfield, but also you're supposed to play big favorites that are going to run out the clock, that you have a workhorse back, and I don't know why and people aren't playing more Nick Chubb. Is it like a price thing? Because first of all, their defense is like going to be the chalkiest defense, right? Or one of them. I mean, why wouldn't people just play Chubb if they're a freaking 12 freaking point favorite? OBJ is out. I don't even know if OBJ is out, whatever. But even you're saying, Rody, that you think Cleveland's going to put up points or whatever it is. If Houston can't hang with them, it's going to be freaking Chubb City the whole freaking second half. And I don't know. Are either of you playing him? And that's one I want to ask you about. And the other one, again, who you brought up last week, I don't know if you brought up that much this week, but if you went and played Derrick Henry every week, he was less than 10% owned, you'd probably be really happy about it. Mm-hmm. And so those are two guys I kind of bring up. Chubb is the most logical to me, honestly. What do you think of him?
Well, I guess I'll go real quick first with that one. It's just I do love Chubb. I think this is it's weird. Because last week we had all the chalk running backs at the top, the high price guys, and until we had the Mostert news, of course, which killed us all. But I really don't think anyone's doing that this week. And I think especially on DraftKings, you want to get exposure. You want to be over the field on Kamara. You want to try to be over the field on McCaffrey, and you want to try to be over the field on Chubb. Kamara, even if it's a tough match, even look, let's say New Orleans just blows out Carolina here. You still think that, you know what that means to me? That means 11 catches for Christian McCaffrey. You think that they're gonna blow out Carolina? Okay, well that means Kamara on the other side. The problem is you get into pricing, and I want to pay up for some of the receivers, and that's why I'm having trouble. While I love the strategy of it, I'm not able to do it as much as I would like to because of how much I like some of these high-end receivers. Rody, how about you on this one?
Yeah, that's why it's pumping a lot of Harris and Chris Carson out because, you're trying to get it. I want a lot of Diggs. It's pumping a lot of Diggs and Ridley and some of these higher end. I want DK Metcalf and a lot of these higher end receivers. So you can't go for the higher end running backs. Well, that's why I said if you're getting someone like Woods on DK for 5.7 and you maybe play some of those Cincinnati Bengal receivers that are kind of 5K-ish right there, cheap, or Waddle at 4.5, or go down to Cedric Wilson, which I think he might get a little popularity for the Dallas, but he's at 3.1 on DK, and I kind of threw him in a higher dollar one because I'm playing McCaffrey and Kamara with Woods and Kupp in that lineup. So, I do like it, though. I'm trying to get more Chubb as we speak. I have a little bit of them before, but I'm trying to get a little bit more. Now I'm trying to bring Harris down a little bit more, but I have a lot of Harris in MME. I was over 50% too in the 150 builds. So plus I got him throughout some single entries too. So he was a pretty chalky guy for me.
Yeah, I get it. By the way, if you are spending down at receiver today, I want to ask who you guys are liking, because I have sort of a weird, I think Callaway is this is the epitome of a great DFS play to me. You get a guy who busted week 1, and all of a sudden no one's on him at 4,200. Whereas if it was week 1, he could have been 4,200. He still would have been 30% owned. Why is no one going to play Callaway? I'm using the Denver guys and Cincinnati, like you mentioned, as well as my cheaper receivers. But why is no one playing Callaway? And are you guys considering that? And what other cheap receivers do you like? Starting with you, Sheets, and then jump over Rody.
Yeah, I did not. I think that like I said, thematically and conceptually, I think what you said makes perfect sense. Like, and this happens a lot. You have the chalk cash guy. This happened in the NBA all the time, right? You get the chalk cash guy who busts. The next week next game he wins a GPP, right? And the same type of thing with football. Everybody played Callaway, and I don't think anything's really changed too much between last week and this week. He just didn't get it last week. Whatever. It's football. It's wide receivers. It's Jameis Winston. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. So I didn't quite get there. Again, like, I look through my cheap wide receivers. I really don't have much. I mean, like I said, I've been kind of like not suckered in. I've been kind of like drawn into these builds that Rody's just kind of talking about, like when you play Harris and whoever, you end up with these types of with receivers, and I don't really need the 3K guys or the cheap guys. The ones I like, and it's so funny because you brought him up first, like early in the week, was the guy from the Cowboys. But here's what I think. I feel as though of the sub 4K guys or whatever, I think that he's definitely the highest. But I really don't think anybody's going to play him in the end. The Cedric Wilson. I think that people, if they use optimizers, that they'll come up with builds. Again, you got to know yourself, right? And if I'm coming up with this, then a lot of people are coming up with this type of build. And very, very few of my builds are just leading me there. So if that's the case, I feel as though a lot of people that are intelligent but are just not willing to, just like me, and not willing to maybe just twist a little bit, like I'm stubborn to do sometimes, they might not end up with so much of the Wilson. So if you could, and this is what I'm kind of getting at, Rody. So like when we're talking about Chubb and you're talking about what we guys, whatever, you're like, well, I'd like to get him in, but that screws my other lineup. What I like to do sometimes in situations like that is just start with Chubb. You know what I mean? Like, say, okay, forget everything else. What would happen if I put Chubb in start and made that the priority? Then the rest of your lineup doesn't seem exactly the same as the others, and it feels a little uncomfortable. But Rody, I mean, like, and Bobby, you certainly agree that no lineup wins the millie that at the very beginning you feel completely comfortable with. You know what I mean? So I feel as though, I don't know. I feel as though, this is maybe hypocritical, but my lineup builds, I have like 30 lineups in the Millie Maker right now. And right now, I don't think any of them can win, and that's where I'm kind of struggling, like of how much to just say, screw my projections, screw logic, screw whatever, and just randomize and just do whatever. That's kind of what I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah, I hear you. I actually don't feel that way. I feel pretty, like I always in football, I always feel great about all my lineups, which is never a good thing. But I think that's why I'm getting these lower receivers. Is I am trying to force in some of these higher end running backs just to try and get off of what everybody's doing. Again, like I said, McCaffrey's never played against I think he's played 7 games against New Orleans in his career, and he's had 6+ receptions in every game, which I think Rody pointed out earlier on our show. I think I just really, really am trying to get some of these guys in. Rody, how do you feel? Like, where are you standing on? Are you spending up for any of these guys at running back? And if so, what wide receivers can you use to justify that on the low end?
Well, we talked about Waddle. We talked about Cedric Wilson. Rondell Moore is cheap as well. I mean, he got a couple targets. He went through his hands last week. I really like that Murray stack. So I'm kind of getting to him, and maybe Hopkins stack. Obviously, Hopkins is expensive. A couple other guys like Robert Woods is cheap. Hunter Renfro's another guy that's getting a ton of balls. And then Raiders game, if you want to get off the board, you can go with a Raider stack. Renfro, Waller, Carr was real popular, or not popular, but real condensed targets between those two guys for a Carr stack for cheap. So I kind of like that. Let's see. Those Bengals receivers are still kind of cheap. I really think Burrow can come in and score. Mixon's might get a little popularity, but like I did say last week, he's gonna have a bad game. He had a good game, so maybe we'll just stick with Burrow and the pass catchers, and hopefully they have a big shootout or something.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny. As I mentioned, I have none of my 30 lineups can win the million. I identified like 2 of them that can win, and they both have like just Bengals Bears just freaking double stack.
Yeah, I like Allen Robinson today, and I'm getting a lot of Montgomery for some reason recently in some builds here. But as a high-end spend running backs, I've got a little bit more Henry. He's up to 15%. I got Elliott up to 15%. Chubb's still at 10%. I was thinking about bumping that up. A little bit of Jonathan Taylor in there. So I'm getting to some of those pricier running backs in some of the builds. So it's drawing me into some of these cheaper receivers a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'm going to address a few things that are brought up in chat. I like what Evan says. Brody, it seems like you've got your you built a studio in your car. It looks good because you've been doing the show. You did the show with our car from your car, which we got a lot of comments on, which I thought was funny. Brody is a working man. He's just pulling extra hours, and he had to do the noon show with us. But Alex says, to me that I'm a Rams fan. Is there any reason why Woods is so much lower owned than Kupp at 300 cheaper? I don't have a good explanation for why that is. I actually think PPR wise, it does make sense to play Kupp, but I like Woods every bit as much, if not more. And I especially like him on FanDuel where yardage and touchdowns are going to matter. And not to say that it couldn't go Kupp's way. I mean, Stafford's a good enough quarterback to spread it around to both of these guys along with Higbee. But I really think people are sleeping too much on Robert Woods. And I love him in that matchup to answer that one. I also think Jonathan Taylor on FanDuel especially is a really good pivot off of the chalk running backs, even though the Rams defense is really good. If the game script goes a certain route and they try to, you could see them running the ball constantly with Jonathan Taylor, and maybe you can play that in your Ram stack and hope that they get a big lead and they're trying to run Taylor out. Maybe he breaks a couple big plays because the Rams can be a little over aggressive and allow big play. That's been one of their Achilles heels like the last couple of years. But they also, it's a great defense that will allow a big play. And I think Jonathan Taylor is a really good run back if you're going to play that Stafford situation. Let's talk about some other guys who are going to be owned. And I want to get your guys' takes on this. Like, where do we stand on Eli Mitchell? Because I'm higher than I was initially. Rhodey, I'll go to you first and then ask Sheets if he's got any of them.
Yeah, I actually don't have any of that guy really. I took a stand there. With the recent report though, I'm thinking about getting to him. I'm waiting for a final update here to run my final builds, and then I'm tweaking my ownerships as we speak, like how my exposures of the guys. So I haven't got any of him. I'm pretty content with my running backs. I like usually go make big stands. So I'll have to either add him in to get him, or I'm all fade on that guy actually. So
I have 10% of him. I have him the same as Edmonds.
Okay.
They're the same guy to me.
Okay, that makes sense. Speaking of Evans,
Edmonds.
Oh, Edmonds. Okay, well, I do like Edmonds as well. So I'm with you on that actually. But let's talk about the Tampa Bay side of things. Okay, it's weird that the ownership is not going to go. I actually think that Mike Evans is oddly enough kind of the guy I'm finding myself wanting to play this week. I think the price is too cheap. You could argue that for every Tampa receiver. I think there's a huge opportunity for all these guys in every game they're going to play in. I think against Atlanta especially. You look at what they did even in the way they ran out the clock at the end of the game against Dallas. They literally had Brady throwing the ball out of bounds, showing some lack of some concern because of the turnovers by the running backs, both fumbling by Jones and they're all going through Fournette's hands. I think you're going to see a lot of this Tampa Bay offense. Now it's hard to pick because you've got all the three great receivers to choose from. But are you guys getting to this offense at all? Because I actually am having to find myself to force some of this Tampa Bay receiving game in. What about you, Sheets?
Yeah, I forced it in, and I'm getting. I have 25% Antonio Brown, and then I have 25. I have like 25% of all my lineups are some form of buck stacks actually.
I think it's awesome. I love Calvin Ridley on the other side. I think Calvin Ridley might actually be the target winner for the week, along with Keenan Allen. I think you're going to see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if both those guys had near 20 targets. I really, really think that's
and the other guy to run it. I like Ridley, and then I also like the tight end. I like Pitts.
Yep. How about you, Rhodey?
Yeah, I actually like a little Fournette as well. I'm getting a little bit of him. I upped my exposure to Godwin and Brown more, but I did add some Evans recently. I think I have Evans in a bigger buy-in actually to pair against like a Pitts Evans combination there in that game. I do like that as well. I'm getting a lot of Ridley on the other side, so I'm definitely trying to stack that game up a little bit more than other people are
Yep,
doing.
I like that.
Well, let me ask you another question. I mean, we like to think that he's like finished or whatever it is, but how good was Gronk yet last week? I mean, are we not playing him for a reason?
I totally understand the thinking. I'm not doing it, but I get it if you want to. I just like other plays better at tight end. I don't really have a. I don't think you're going to see a massive production year from Gronk. I think that was a little bit of a. It's almost like a playoff game. It felt like it was like, okay, well, we're gonna show off our thing and we're gonna run our plays. And I'm not saying you won't get some of them, but I think there are other good tight end plays that I just like a little bit better. How about you, Rody? Though he does seem crazy low owned considering the production he had in week 1.
I think I got him in one of my single entry high or like $100 single entry stack with Gronk, Brown, and Brady stack. I put together, but yeah, I'm not getting to him very much in any of my builds. So
yeah. I'm just telling you, I have 0. I'm just saying. I'm just looking at it.
I don't have him either. I just think I think it's a good point. I mean, I am siding with the Higbee, Fant, Pitts, Waller type of things. Waller, especially on FanDuel, just so easy to get in. Really hard for me not to get to him over there. Where do you stand with that, Rody?
Yeah, I'm looking at my tight end exposure for Waller right now. It's insane on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get a lot of fan on DraftKings. He's my highest tight end on DraftKings. So
on FanDuel, so let's talk about FanDuel tight end. I have at tight end, I have him at 33% Waller, and I have 29% Kittle. I actually do have like 7%. I have a couple. I'm actually max entering the. That's all I'm doing on FanDuel today. I'm max entering the Millie Maker. That's all I'm doing.
You're probably going to win it. I got a feeling you always seem to do well with these. Anytime you say max enter, it feels like it's always going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I'm max entering that, and I'm playing the showdown over there later. Then I'll play and I'm playing baseball.
I'm not touching any baseball today. It's football day for me, but I hear you. Look, I guess we'll just talk about like some of our overall ownerships. I am not fading this Dallas Charger situation. I understand that people are worried, but I like you said, Sheets, earlier, you can throw Cedric Wilson in there. In fact, the other guy who I'm getting to a little bit of, why am I blanking on his name all of a sudden, for the Chargers, the 3K receiver.
Guyton.
I think that there's ways you can use just even those just little plays to get off of the chalk in that game, and I think that's a viable route to go. I also think that as much as Eckler and Zeke might be owned some, I just want to be overweight on that game and then build the rest of my lineups accordingly. I think it has the best chance to shoot out, the best chance to go crazy. I'm going to be targeting both the Cowboys and against the Cowboys all year long. Without Gallup in there, it just makes it that much easier. I just don't think it's a spot where I really want to get cute and just avoid the game that I like the best. Although I will say this, it is weird to attack some of the better corners in the NFL are on the Chargers football team. So it's a little funny, which is sort of bringing me to a little more Zeke. What are you guys' stances on that game? Because I think it is the most popular. And then before we get out of here in maybe like 15 minutes or so, we'll talk about our favorite plays. But Rody, where are you on that? And then we'll get to Sheets on that one.
I really kept to Mike Williams, Jared Cook, and Keenan Allen in the stack. I didn't get any Guyton or Palmer or any of those other guys. I really like Zeke on the other side. I've added a lot of exposure to Zeke. I think everyone might be off him a little bit more because he didn't look so good, and they think they're going to throw the ball. But yeah, I really like Zeke in that game, and I really like Keenan Allen. I'm getting quite a bit of those guys. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually don't think Mike Williams is going to get enough ownership on DraftKings because he's so cheap on FanDuel. And I think he'll be owned over there a lot more. But I really like the Mike Williams idea and maybe getting a little bit less, trying to get a little less of Keenan Allen because I have so much of him. But yeah, I think it's a really viable thing to do. Sheets, where are you on that game in general?
Yeah, I'm pretty heavy on it. I mean, I have like 25 to 30% of that game. I mean, it's tough for me to get off it.
I didn't really get your guys' thoughts on it. I did mention about my love for the Denver side of things. I actually do have Bridgewater in some stacks too.
Really?
Yeah, and Bridgewater to Patrick and Fant, Bridgewater to Hamler and Patrick, Hamler and Fant. I also like Sutton. I want to take shots with Judy gone against a team that played the fastest tempo in all of football last week in Jacksonville. I think it's a great spot to attack. I also like you could stack that team and play the defense against them. And then you could run it back with some of these longer shot plays, maybe a Chenault, Chark, or whatever. But where do you stand with that Denver passing game? Because I don't think anybody's doing it. And I think it's a mistake.
I don't know, man.
Okay, go ahead.
That's the best I can say. I just don't know.
By the way, Teddy Bridgewater, 2 times millionaire winner I think it was the first 6 weeks of last season. 2 of the first 6 weeks, he was the millionaire winning quarterback.
Really?
He was a fast starter. It was a different team, obviously. He was in Carolina, but Brody, any of these these guys are. We talk about the Cincinnati situation, but these guys have even more of an opportunity because they're missing their number 1 receiver, and they're going to play against a bad defense against a team that plays fast. Any interest?
Oh man, I really don't have a lot, and I'm mad I don't have a lot because I know Teddy. I played a little bit of them earlier last week, but this week I got more fan out of anything. But I even had that lineup last week with Trevor Lawrence, even though he did kind of bad. I got 16th in the $150 contest with him as quarterback. So, man, because I had Chubb and some other guys know what he had in that lineup. So, yeah, so I don't know. I kind of want to up my exposure to that a little bit more. You might have talked me into it.
Yeah, and sticking with the theme of going back to guys. I mean, first of all, Elijah Moore, another one that's really cheap that everybody was all over, and now no one wants to play him. But the one that I'm finding that I have the most interest in, that I have to force in some lineups, is going to be Pittman. Especially, we have no Paris Campbell this week now. Both Pittman and Pascal, I think you could make an argument for. But I'm finding myself with some Pittman love.
Well, it's just what we said about the other dude, right? He busted last week, and now no one's going to play him. Is that real?
He busted last week and somehow still was on the $5 millionaire lineup winner.
Are you serious? Jesus.
Yeah, he was. Callaway with 2.4 points was because you had to go low if you were going to try and play Brady with Gronk. I'm sorry, if you're going to try and play Gronk and Kelsey. So that's how he ended up in there. What are your thoughts on sort of going back there with Pittman especially? I think Pittman is the Rams are a great defense, but one of Pittman or Pascal is going to just have enough opportunity if you play the angle that the Rams can put up a bunch of points against Indy here today. Any interest?
Yeah. Pittman's in my highest dollar lineup. So
really,
he's my run back to my Ram stack. So
okay.
Where do I go in that? I got I'm playing Kamara, I'm playing CMC, I got Kupp, and I got Woods, and I got Pittman in that lineup. So I gotta kind of do something there.
Yep.
Cheap. So I'm still thinking he's still questionable, right? Do we have official go on him? I haven't finalized
Pittman's officially a go, and officially what's his name is out.
Campbell, you said.
Campbell's out.
That's a huge bump up to Pittman, then I would say.
Yeah, the only problem is you have one of the best corners in football against him, but that maybe makes an argument for Pascal. I do think there is going to be some opportunity for those receivers in this game. And if it was a smaller slate, I would say we could even take shots with Naheem Hines. But I do want to find some run backs on that Indy side of it. So I'm a fan of that personally. So I'm into it.
However, I will also say that you could speak more to this. You talk about Jalen Ramsey, right?
What about Ramsey? Yeah,
he's the cornerback.
He's just awesome. Yeah.
No. He is awesome, but he's. It's not like he's going to. I mean, he's been given free reign to kind of do what he wants, right? This season.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much. But I think he does line up against Pittman mostly here today.
Okay.
People are saying play Van Jefferson. I understand it. I'm a Rams fan. I think it's probably a little bit thin. But so is Cedric Wilson. So if you're going to play a stack, you can go ahead and include Van Jefferson. I just think it's a little bit thin for a full slate. He's always my showdown guy. Any love for Troutman as a cheap tight end? Carnes, good question. I'm not getting to him at all, but I definitely don't mind it. How about you guys? Any Troutman for you, Rody or Sheets?
Pass.
I just recently, he was popping a couple. I asked him, I don't want to go there. I think I'm going higher tight ends.
Yeah, I mostly am too. But Alex brings up something interesting about Javonte Williams as a just completely unowned play for Denver here. I think that's actually an interesting play. I have one lineup with Javonte Williams that's a high buy-in one, but mostly I'm not doing it. Where do you guys stand? Any other low priced running backs that we're going with for either of you guys? Anything?
Lowest I got was like I said, what's his name? Mitchell and Edmonds.
Gotcha. Okay. So some other, I'm just, I'm looking through my ownerships, and I think, we'll get out of here in about 10 minutes or so, but let's talk about some favorite. Like, I think I have Fant, Lamb, Cooper, Allen as my highest owned players, along with Najee Harris. I know those are fairly chalky, but I have plenty of pivots off of those guys. Like I said, I'm playing the Denver passing game a ton outside of Fant even. I really have like Denver receivers in like a good portion of my lineups, including Hamler. Where do you guys? What are some of your highest exposures over there, Rody? And then we'll go to Sheets.
On FanDuel, you said?
Either site.
Oh, highest exposures. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Any site. Oh yeah, that one's pretty simple. Like, Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, I'm big for receivers. Cooper Kupp, Ridley, Julio Jones. Those are my top. I'm pretty heavy on those guys.
Yeah.
I go
Julio Jones. That's kind of a revelation.
Yeah, well, I'm stacking that game a lot, so I need a lot of run backs in that game, and I only went to Brown or him as a run back, and a little Derrick Henry and some higher buy-ins, but yeah, and DK Metcalf. So those are a little bit more popping. So for me on FanDuel.
Yep.
Yeah, for me on DraftKings is well across the board. I'm just basically locking in Harris and just hoping that I make money in baseball. Because because it's very possible that Pittsburgh just throws the ball. It's really, really possible. But that's where I'm going, and I'm in Chalk City. I can't get out of it. I have a lot of Harris. I have a lot of Carson. I have a lot of Fant. And then I'm on that Charger game like everybody else. I'm on that Cowboy, in the Cowboy Charger game. And I'm just hoping my little sprinkles here and there just get me different enough where I can compete. That's the best where I'm at.
Yeah. Guys, drop in any last minute questions about anything. I would say that I did say those are my highest owned plays. I think on FanDuel, Pitts and I'm using a few tight ends, but Pitts and Waller are by far my favorites, along with Fant. I love Fant, but I have so much exposure on DK. It is so easy to get to Waller on FanDuel. I just am going to take that shot. That guy is a freaking target monster. They're going to probably have to throw the ball a bunch to Pittsburgh down here. I actually think Pittsburgh stacks are viable. If I was playing 150, I would probably get to some Pittsburgh stacks and use Waller as the run back. Or you have on DraftKings, I think you're probably more likely to go to Bryan Edwards. How about some FanDuel specific plays for you, Rody, and then Sheets? We'll jump over to yours because you're obviously scripting over there. So Rody, go first, and Sheets answer after.
FanDuel specific. I mean, you got obviously we talked about. I like that we talked about the Bills. Liking the Bills. I actually got some like in the Gaskin a little bit as a run back. A lot of Waddle, a little bit of Parker. Mike Gesicki a little bit more than I'm trying to get a little more of him, but I don't think I can. At receiver, I actually got a lot of Rondell Moore over there on FanDuel and Waddle, both guys coming in a little bit heavier. Beasley a little bit more in the Bills run backs as well. Probably nobody talked about the Minnesota game a lot. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, don't forget about those guys over there. Jefferson should come in low owned. I'm up to my exposure to him a little bit.
I prefer Jefferson to Thielen, but I think that I love Thielen too. I think he's going to be the lower owned option.
Yeah, I like both. Yeah, I like both.
Just as easily be either one of them. I mean, that's the truth with how they play. They're both awesome receivers in a spot where they're going to probably have to throw the ball some.
For me on FanDuel, about 45% of my exposure is actually I have 45% game stacks of Tennessee Seattle.
Okay, I like the Tennessee Seattle game quite a bit. I'm finding myself with a little more Brown than I am Julio Jones, but I have plenty of Julio Jones as well. So I'm into that as a game stack for sure. And I actually think that maybe it's a mistake, like Sheets mentioned earlier, when we just don't play Derrick Henry. I think you got to take shots on these guys when they're low owned. I don't care about what month it is. I do think that it makes some sense to play some Derrick Henry as well. I'm just taking a look at some updates here. Keegan Thompson was baseball. Any other questions in chat before we get out of here? Any takes on defenses? Okay, let's talk about some defenses. So I am spending down on defense mostly. Where I'm spending up, I want to play the Rams. I want to play the Browns, and I want to play New England. But I'm spending down. I have an unhealthy amount of Texans because of how I'm trying to spend down. Look, Baker can make mistakes. He makes one mistake, and all of a sudden that Texans minimum cost defense pays off. How about you guys' takes on defense? Let's start with you, Sheets.
Yeah, I like the Jets. Paying all the way down for there. And I like the Bears, and I like the Steelers, and I like the Browns. But I think the Jets are a perfectly good play. I mean, they're against a rookie quarterback. I mean, they're 2,200. They play hard. They're at home. I mean, yeah, I don't mind the Jets at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. How about you?
I'm getting the same things. Yeah, same defenses.
Same defenses.
Yeah.
If you are going to spend, oh wow, this is way too. Maybe I think I may have gotten a little crazy with Denver. I've got 4 Denver players in the lineup. That's a little crazy, probably a little too much. But hey, that could be the kind of millionaire maker winner. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. I hope everybody crushes it today. I've still got some lineup editing to do. Final takes, anything from you guys before we get out of here? Rody, start with you.
Oh, not much, guys. Just try to get different. I know the late games are going to want to stack, but just don't forget about the early games. I'm hoping to get some good scores early and then just hopefully hold it.
Yeah, here's the hot take. Ready? So this is going to be the hot take.
Hold it.
This is the hot take. The hot take is this. So what you're going to hear from everybody across the industry is, dude, if you're winning money at the 1 o'clock games, don't count your chickens. So I'm going to piggyback off what Rody just said. I'm going to say the opposite. I think that the 1 o'clock games win the slate.
Okay. All right.
I don't know how or who, but they're just going to be so low owned. That's going to be everybody's going to be waiting for all these 4 o'clock games to blow up, and they just won't. That's the hot take of the day.
All right, I'm going to go on the opposite end and take the chalky take, but I will just say this is the most important thing. This is the day to be late swapping. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have a million opportunities if your early guys don't get there. You can do a million different things. And as you know, in football, it's not like basketball. It's like baseball, where if you have some busts, you can still get there with a nothing. If Najee Harris gets hurt in the first quarter, knock on wood, I pray he doesn't. You can go ahead and reverse your stacks. There's plenty of options, and just take the lower owned sides of the afternoon slate, because there are a bunch of ways to go in all 4 of those afternoon games. It's really rare that we get the afternoon slates this juicy. And this is a great spot where it doesn't all need to be Chargers, Dallas. There's plenty of other options in that afternoon slate. I do think if you're going to play the morning slate, I think the way you're winning is Josh Allen or Teddy Bridgewater. That's my take. All right. Good luck to everybody out there. Really appreciate it. Rody, great job. Thanks so much. And thanks so much to Sheets. And True DFS, guys, let's kill it. And we'll be active in Discord all day. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
All projections are up. I also already put the showdown stuff up. And after we come on live to sweat Rody and Bobby like chopping like the monster, which is totally going to happen, then maybe we'll talk about the showdown also.
Yeah, and by the way, a little side note, kind of a frustration. I'm very I'm never playing Emmanuel. I'm never playing Grillo again. Cheats. I just can't do it. My lineup
until next week.
Until next week, of course. That's when I end up playing them. All right. Good luck.